Hey, what it do? This is Mongo Slade. So today we're going to talk about Royal Rumble 2016. And this Royal Rumble was a very quirky event. And so during the Royal Rumble retrospectives, because the matches are too long, I can't do a match commentary. So what I'm going to do is instead I'm just going to do like a news and notes. So basically some thoughts about the match itself after I watched the match. So I just watched Royal Rumble 2016. So the winner of the Royal Rumble, for those of you who didn't know, was Triple H, who won the WWE title for the 14th time in this match. So before I go through, who came in when, this Royal Rumble is known for, not just for the title being on the line, but obviously it was also the debut of AJ Styles. So this match, I don't know like how other people saw it. I saw it as a pretty good match, but it obviously failed to launch a lot of the stories that were started in the event. For instance, the main story, of course, is the Roman Reigns one versus all story, where he's feuding with the League of Nations and he's feuding with the McMahons. And this was supposed to get Roman Reigns over. This led to the abysmal match at WrestleMania 30. I hate when they took the numbers out. 32, Triple H versus Roman Reigns. That match sucked. But it sucked for a very specific reason. The storyline didn't work. The Roman versus the McMahons versus the League of Nations. It wasn't the talent involved. I know a lot of people like if you don't remember the League of Nations, it was this horrible stable featuring Sheamus, Alberto Del Rio, and Rusev. It was awful. All they did was lose, and get beat up by Roman. That's all they did. It's funny how that works, where all you do is lose and all you do is get beat up and people think you suck. But this spun out of Roman winning the title for the first time, and then at Survivor Series. And then Sheamus cashed in the Money in the Bank, took the belt from him. Sheamus then aligned himself with Mr. McMahon, and he was sort of the corporate champion. And then they did the excellent angle between Roman and Mr. McMahon, I think on Raw, where Roman actually got over in Philadelphia, and Roman won the title back. And then it led to this, Roman having to put the title on the line in the Royal Rumble match. So that's the A story. The A story is Roman versus the McMahons and the League of Nations. So this didn't work. Not because Sheamus and McMahon and Triple H and all these guys didn't have any heat. It didn't work because nobody believed it. It's something that simple. Nobody believed that Roman wasn't the golden boy. That Vince McMahon is really trying to screw Roman out of the title. Nobody believed that shit. And because nobody believed it, everything they tried to do involving them and involving this fell flat. On its face, if it was anybody else other than Roman Reigns, this storyline would have gotten over. They did some really cool stuff to Roman. He had to start the match, which of course creates sympathy because he had to start in the hole. The first person he had to wrestle was one of the last people he had to wrestle in 2015. So they actually linked the 2015 Rumble, which was abysmal. I'm not even going to go through that. And the 2016 Rumble. They linked those two matches together. And because it was Rusev. And then Rusev was also a part of the stable that was screwing with Roman. So that worked too. It's just that nobody believed that Vince McMahon didn't want Roman to be the guy. It was just Vince McMahon putting himself in that position to get Roman over. And then you had, later in the story, you had Roman get pulled out of the ring, and then Rusev runs across the top of the tables and splashes Roman through the tables, which was a great spot. And again, against most other people, it would have worked. And I love that specific spot, not just because it was a great visual, but because you can hear Rusev like, "Come here, boss," and hugging Vince McMahon afterwards. Like, that was some really good shit. It was really funny shit. So then when Sheamus comes in at like 28 or 29 or something like that. He comes in near the end. It's 29. And after Roman is crushed on the tables, he goes to take his nap, which is another thing that never fucking works in the Royal Rumble. It never works when you have people take a nap. Battle Royals, period. People who win these Battle Royals, unless you're trying to give them heat, which sometimes you are, they should always work the whole match. You know what I'm saying? Like, they should never be laying outside the ring for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or whatever. Roman disappeared for, I don't know, at least 10 minutes. He was gone. They did a stretcher spot when he was going to get stretchered out But instead, he refused to stretch her. He walks to the back under his own power. And then he goes back there until Sheamus comes out. Then he comes back out. So now you gave the guy a break. So whatever heat that you built up, you blew it off because now he's went and got 10 minutes to rest. And now he's come back fresh as a fucking daisy because he ain't had to do any work in 10 minutes. And that's not going to get him, cheered. That's going to get him booed. Okay. So there's different ways of looking at that, right? And comparing this Rumble, specifically that specific situation, to the 1992 Royal Rumble, where Ric Flair worked the entire match, fighting everybody who came in the ring, and when he won, the crowd popped. Nobody booed Flair for winning, Now, I'm not saying that Roman would have won this match, but just imagine how much sympathy he could have gotten if you hadn't gotten him that break. Like if you hadn't given him that 10-minute break in that spot, he would have had to fight them after being crushed to a table. Then he would have had to deal with Brock being in there, and Braun being in there, and Bray being in there, and all those guys being in there, knocking him around and trying to throw him out. But he's fighting and he's scratching and he's going to hold on. So nobody believed it. And that's why it failed. So I actually forgot about a lot of that stuff. Because 2016 Royal Rumble, other than AJ's debut, was very forgettable. And because the League of Nations sucked. But one thing that was actually good was the B story. The B story with being Brock versus the Wyatts, which I think was teased. Of course, it never happened because, I don't know, maybe Brock didn't want to work with Bray. Maybe Bray didn't want to work with Brock. If anybody knows any backstage stuff about that, let me know. But they teased it on a couple of Raws before this event. And then once Roman was taken out, the Wyatt family sort of took over the match. I think Luke Harper was already in there. Then Eric Rowan came in. Then Braun Strowman came in. And Strowman did all his stuff by eliminating Kane and Big Show. They were really highlighting Braun Strowman here. Gave him a lot of spotlight. Letting him eliminate guys like Kane and Big Show and work over a lot of the smaller guys and really do some stuff. Really do some stuff. And then the Wyatt family kind of took over. They had started really just dumping guys outside the ring. And then here comes Brock. And Brock is just manhandling all of these full-grown men. All of them are full-grown adult men who don't need to be carded when they go into the bar. I mean, Luke Harper, RIP, is in the match. He's taking some hellacious suplexes. He's been suplexed 100,000 times in that match. Of course, Brock had to sucker punch Braun Strowman in his chops for fucking up. I'm pretty sure that made his hamburgers taste different for a little while, but it was really good. Like, I like the setup there. Brock has come in to win the title. The Wyatts are there doing whatever they doing Wyatt stuff. They're just doing Wyatt stuff. And they have no real interest in anything else. And after Brock eliminates all of the Wyatts, then Bray comes out. Bray comes out 27. And Bray is, he's reluctant to face Brock by himself. And the rest of the Wyatts who have already been eliminated, Strowman, Harper, Rowan, they get back into the ring and they help Bray beat up Brock. But Bray, Brock fights him off. He fights him off again. He throws around Bray. It looks like he's about to eliminate Bray and finish off these Wyatts. And then the Wyatts come back. And then he catches his sister Abigail, and the Wyatts toss him from the ring. Now, this was a great angle. This was great stuff. Because you've got Brock, who is a human meat grinder, against, again, 4 full-grown men. All of them are big guys. There's no midgets. There's nothing... it's all believable that Brock would have a difficult time with Strowman because Strowman's so large. But Harper is rugged, and so is Rowan, and Wyatt's the master manipulator who's pulling the strings, and he's got everything going. That's perfect stuff. Why they decided to deviate towards Dean Ambrose, I have no idea. I know at some point between WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble, some point between there was was supposed to be a Wyatt Lesnar match, and it ended up being Lesnar and Harper. And Lesnar, of course, just destroyed Harper, and that was sort of the end of their angle. And then he was deviated to Dean Ambrose, where he basically was going to break Dean Ambrose in half. And so I wonder if like Lesnar pulled a, that's not going to work for me, brother, on that on that whole ordeal. But it would have been nice, and I know I'm Sunday morning quarterback and 5 years later, but it would have been nice for them to move the title to that story. And then I think it would have been better. Like if Bray Wyatt would have won the Royal Rumble, right? Just saying. If Bray Wyatt would have won the Royal Rumble and Wyatt was the champion and he had been fucking with Brock, and now Brock has to face Wyatt for the title, or, and you could have done something else with Roman for a little while. Of course, they were never going to do that because you had Triple H in this match. But if you could have just not put Triple H in this match and then put the title on Bray, people still would have popped. It would have been great. And people would have been very, very interested in a Wyatt-Roman match for WrestleMania or a Wyatt-Brock match for WrestleMania. And I think either one of those ideas would have been better, infinitely better than what we actually got. Now, I don't remember WrestleMania 32 that well. I do remember the main event. I do remember that Bray Wyatt did not work with Brock Lesnar. He worked with Dean Ambrose. So Dean Ambrose was a very interesting piece of this story because he was the last man in the ring. Dean Ambrose was in the Roddy Piper position. Roddy Piper in the Royal Rumble 1992, and there's a great little link between these two events. Wrestled for the Intercontinental Championship and won it earlier in the night against the Mountie. Dean Ambrose retained the Intercontinental Championship earlier in a last man standing match against Kevin Owens. So you had Ambrose go through one match, and now he's got to go through the Royal Rumble. Dean Ambrose came in at number 19, so he was in there, I believe, when the Wyatts was doing all their stuff with Brock and all that, and all that. So he could have, been. He was, legitimized by being a tough guy, going through that last man standing match, which was pretty brutal, and then being in the Royal Rumble and holding his own. He was a great underdog babyface at the end. Of course, he couldn't be the guy to actually win the match. Now I could fan fiction something that would have been epic for WrestleMania that year, where it could have been Ambrose versus Roman, with Ambrose being sort of the quote unquote corporate champion. And it being very weird and very awkward, and something that Dean Ambrose basically broke out of right before the event, where he was being told how to dress and what to do and all this type of stuff, and he just decided, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to go for it. I'm not Seth Rollins. I'm not going to go for it. And he sort of rips it all off and says he's going to fight Roman, as himself, and he's not the corporate champion, he's just the champion or whatever. And then he loses the title to Roman at WrestleMania. Like, that could have been an engaging story that you could have told, where the McMahons are trying to force Dean Ambrose to be, who they want him to be. And I didn't see Seth Rollins in this event, so I'm guessing this is when he was injured. So, those were really cool things. The A story and the B story were really cool. Of course, AJ Styles was part of the event. He was in there, tangling with a lot of these people, which was fun stuff. He didn't really get an angle or anything out of it. A lot of people thought that he was going to be wrestling Kevin Owens after he got eliminated from the Royal Rumble. I don't know why people think that automatically if somebody eliminates you from the Royal Rumble, you have to fight them at WrestleMania. It's like, that's a 3-month feud, dog, because you threw me over the top rope. I'm a fight you for 4 months. I don't know about that, dog. But let's just talk about some nuggets, some different things that I saw in here that I don't remember, and maybe other people don't remember. Number one, remember when people liked Tyler Breeze? Tyler Breeze came in at number 4. He got a pretty good reaction too. This was back when NXT was full of fuckery, right? When, just about everybody who ever passed through NXT was actually over. And, so Tyler Breeze is one of those guys. And I didn't dislike Tyler Breeze, but I didn't see anything special from the beginning. He's a very, very small, he was a smaller Dolph Ziggler, as far as I was concerned. And even at the time. But a lot of other people really liked him. And I'm not surprised it didn't make it. Not just because WWE fucked over a lot of these people. And another one being Neville, who came in at number 16. But he was very, very plain. Like Neville came in and was he was a lot like Ricochet is now. Incredibly athletic, incredibly versatile, but he didn't know how to stand out. He didn't know how to break, being plain babyface. And, or maybe it was a thing where he just got labeled generic high flyer. And that wasn't really Tyler Breeze's thing. Tyler Breeze had a bit of a personality, but he was he just it just didn't translate onto the main shows. To continue the NXT things, you also had Bo Dallas, who wasn't actually in the Royal Rumble, but he would accompany Curtis Axel in the Royal Rumble, and they were part of the Social Outcasts, which is a group I absolutely do not remember. It was Adam Rose, who I completely forgot existed, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, and Heath Slater. Heath Slater, whom I love, of course. I don't remember anything about the Social Outcasts. I don't remember their existence. I memory hold the hell out of this. I don't remember it at all. I know a lot of people really love Bo Dallas too, because he was NXT champion, and I was just kind of like, so what? I mean, he was just leaving NXT when I started watching it, so I really wasn't all that interested, and I really did not care. But that was essentially it. The NXT, Sami Zayn came out there, and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. And you know what? Despite the fact that I don't like Kevin Owens, I think Kevin Owens is a really entertaining heel. That's where I think his value is. I think WWE trying to use him as a babyface, especially as an underdog babyface. I don't know about that position for him, but I do love the underdog heel, Kevin Owens. Or the bully heel. Especially him, being able to being physically abusive to like Sami Zayn and like other people. Like, it's really fun stuff. And he was really fun in this match. And his stuff with AJ Styles, of course, was really fun. And his stuff with Sami Zayn was fun. I just wish that he maybe it could have gave him more spotlight by letting him hang around. Sami Zayn, who got a pretty big reaction, got grinded up in the whole Wyatt Brock thing and got tossed out by the Wyatts. So after he eliminated Kevin Owens, there really was nothing else for him to do. They kind of was like, okay, well, we got you. You got your revenge. So that was it. But there was a lot of course, looking at it from 5 years in the future, there was a lot of AEW guys in here. So, Cody was in here. He's in here at Stardust. Goldust was here. Jericho was here. Of course, Luke Harper, Neville, Dean Ambrose. There was a lot of guys in here. It was weird seeing Alberto Del Rio because I hadn't seen him in such a long time. But Titus O'Neil was, and I think I'm gonna end on this. They have very quietly moved Titus O'Neil out of wrestling. A lot of people seem to like Titus. He's a very likable guy, and I think that's the best thing I can say about him. Because as a character, it's like, so what? And as a performer, he is just a guy with two left legs, not two left feet, two left legs. Like, I don't see how he is a giraffe on stilts. I've never seen a guy live with those legs for 40 some odd years and he just does not know how to use them. I don't figure out how he got these planks underneath his butt and he just can't manage to get him to do what he wants him to do. He is just not good at wrestling. Like his coordination is just not good. But this event was okay. I know I said it before, like the rest of the show wasn't really all that good, but the B story, the Wyatts and the Brock stuff was really good. The A story stuff was fine. It's just that nobody believed in it and people booed Roman and people booed the whole angle because they didn't like it. And of course it was trying to tell us something that we didn't believe. We just didn't believe that Roman wasn't the golden boy. So it was too hard for them to get any heat. But everything else was pretty solid. I love the Brock and Bray stuff. I wish we could have got that match. But if you watched this match recently, or if you're going to go watch it, let me know what you think about this retrospective in the comment section below. Spread the good word of 3 Count Commentaries. I appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah.